whatever you do, get rid of this fear of missing out, this terrible lust to participate in profit making that comes along at the end of every one of the great bubbles. It is incredibly seductive, very hard to resist. Been there, done that myself a few decades ago, made a fortune and wiped myself out. Very salutary. And I would wish on most of you that you avoid it. It's crossed off all the boxes. It's done all the things that a super bubble typically does, and it could start its way down anytime and perhaps a month ago. It needs a long bull market, and we had 11 years, so the longest in history. It needs a lot of crazy behavior, and we had some of the great crazy behavior of all time. I think they'll be telling these stories in 20 years. It needs to accelerate at the end of a bubble. It's something like 3 times the average rate of the bull market, and it did that. From COVID on upwards, the NASDAQ more than doubled, and it went up at well over 3 times the normal rate. And finally, a thing that is unique to the super bubbles, the 2 or 3 that just keep going and going, is that at the end, the speculative stocks start to peel off. And even on the upside, for the broad market, they start to go down. And that started early last year. The super duper specs, the worst of them all, started to decline. And then one by one, they fell in and started to drop. And as we sit today, something like 40% of all the NASDAQ stocks are down over 50%, which is pretty amazing since it's only the other day the S&P was at its all-time high in late December. Nothing is certain in life, but I would say that is the beginning of the burst when the specs that typically go up quite a lot more than the market go down as the market goes up. And a lot of the most speculative stocks of 2020 were already going down. That is very rare. It happened in 1929. It happened in 1972 before the very big decline then. It happened in 2000 before the tech wipeout.
So you're saying we are at the beginning of a crash?
I would say it is likely that we are. I think it would be unlikely that the market would not come down by 50% from its peak. The broad market, the S&P, and it would be unusual if the specs did not do worse than that. The problem is it slow or is it quick? The stimulus program left a lot of money in individual hands for buying the dip, and they have been throwing money this year, individuals, at the dips. They have probably never invested more rapidly than they have this year, and despite that, of course, the market is down. But they have a lot of money.